It's time, Sandra. You can still change your mind. They'll look after him, these people. They'll take good care. Of course they will. I know it's the right thing, but...
How often has she applied for Rule 43, Charles?
4 times in the last year, Governor. Gets hysterical at the thought of coming out. You can't reason with her.
Perhaps we haven't tried hard enough.
There are 2 to be discharged at Ascombe on Friday, and Vivian Pierce to be discharged on the 24th. Maximum remission.
Pierce, you'll have to choose a new red band.
Yes, it won't be easy to find someone like Vivian. She was a model prisoner.
Yes, quiet, well-behaved, towed the line.
You sound doubtful.
No. She's been no trouble ever. It's just that she doesn't show much. With someone like that, you always wonder what's really going on inside.
Oh, excuse me, Chief, Miss Harker. The governor's here.
Oh, thank you, Pat.
Morning, Janet.
Morning, Mrs. Boswell.
Morning.
I want to talk to you about Lily Heaver.
Have you seen her application? Only went in this morning.
Oh, what's it for?
Rule 43 again, another month in solitary.
She's due to be released fairly soon, isn't she?
Another 6 weeks.
She wants to walk out of her cell and through the front gates.
She's afraid of the other women.
Well, I'm not going to consider that application until we've discussed it. I'll speak to you both later.
Yes, Governor.
Good. Still, I think I'll put you on a course of vitamins just to supplement your diet. Oh, yeah, could I have a... Nurse, will you take Sandra to the restroom, please, and, see that she gets some of these. It's just a mild sedative. Help you to sleep for a couple of hours. Make you feel much better.
Good morning, Peter.
Morning.
Was that Sandra Logan?
Yes.
How is she?
Very distressed. Her baby went to its foster home this morning.
Oh, poor girl.
Well, it was her own decision.
Yes, but I don't suppose she stopped to think what it would really feel like to see that child taken away from her.
No. The problem is now whether the distress caused by that is going to be less than the anxiety of having him here.
Yes, well, we'll do what we can for her, but I'll have to be advised by you. We'll talk about it later.
All right.
Oh, by the way, about dinner tonight. Bill's just phoned me from Geneva. He's having to catch the late afternoon plane, so he can't make it. Do you mind if we put it off till next
No,
week?
not at all. Something to look forward to.
My cooking? Oh, you must be joking. Vivian.
Morning, madam.
Ah, you're not sickening for anything, are you, Vivian?
No, sir. No, I've brought the list of medical applications.
Good. We wouldn't want you to go down with something just before you were released.
Oh, don't wish it on her. You're due for a home visit soon, aren't you?
Yes, madam.
Well, I'm sure it'll go well, but if there are any difficulties, don't hesitate to get in touch with me.
Thank you, madam.
The prison service is the Cinderella service. We're criticised in the press, by the public, by a dozen well-meaning but misinformed organisations. And they cannot, or will not, see that there can be no radical improvements until we are given better facilities.
That means money, Miss Clark.
Oh, exactly. And instead of increased grants, we get votes of thanks. Oh, I'll admit I'm flattered when they say the welfare department does wonders in the circumstances. But I'd skip the thanks to have more staff and enough money to give practical help.
Well, that's for the women who have left. I'm more concerned about the ones that are still here. And I still think the main problem is space.
Yes, I think so too. Although we've managed to improve the conditions and the general appearance of Stone Park, no real advance will be made until the whole new prison complex is built and designed for the 20th century instead of the 19th.
As you say, Governor, it all comes back to money. And no government can afford to consider the prison service as one of its first priorities.
Well, either we accept the limitations and cope with the problems as best we may, or we just give in.
Problems? Well, the problems are all really symptoms of the same disease. Lack of facilities and overcrowding. Well, take Sandra Logan, for instance.
Well, who's she?
She's doing 6 months for persistent petty theft. She's in maternity.
Her baby has been going through a period of crying at night. Quite normal, but it upset Sandra. The more upset she became, the more it communicated itself to her baby, and the crying got worse.
So she convinced herself that he was reacting to being in prison.
That's not possible.
As we tried to tell her.
No child is really aware of its surroundings until it is at least 9 months old.
By which time she'll have served her sentence and they need never have been separated.
Yes. But she insisted on his being sent to a foster home. And by that time, her state of anxiety got so bad that we agreed.
Couldn't the father take him?
Her baby is illegitimate.
Couldn't even get him to pay maintenance.
Well, that hardly makes her into a special case, Miss Clark.
She's no different from any of 100 of the other women.
She is a victim.
Then what was she sentenced for?
Well, in any humane society, she would be given help and care instead of a term in prison.
Oh, is that what we're to do with all of them? Shiftless, immoral, criminal?
And running for sympathy when they get found out.
Look, if I could just finish what I was saying. The point is that now that Sandra's baby is gone, Sandra's got to leave maternity. Now, she's not really distressed enough to warrant my taking her into the hospital, but even if she were, there just isn't any space. Do you want some?
She needs time on her own to recover and adjust.
And there is no spare single cell in the main prison.
Precisely. Don't you?
Yeah.
Well, it wouldn't be fair to move anyone else. So I suggest we transfer her to North Wing. You'll be responsible for her, Janet.
Yes, sir.
And while we're on the subject of North Wing, I'd like you all to think about Lily Heaver for a moment. The past year, she's spent much of it in solitary confinement at her own request.
For her protection from the other women.
Yes, but she's due to be released in 5 weeks.
If only she'd stay released.
Oh, all right, thanks. Just wait here a minute, will you? You can put your bag down.
The country's better off with her inside, and the prison's a healthier place with her locked up on her own.
I'm afraid I agree.
She's been in and out of here for years, madam.
Yes, Mrs. Armitage, I've had some experience of her.
I think what Mrs. Armitage means is that nothing will change Lily now. It's all been tried. She's not intelligent, but she's cunning. Any kindness is taken for weakness.
She's a persistent malingerer. She steals from the other women, intimidates the weaker ones.
You remember the girl she drove into attempting suicide?
Not to mention the one she was blackmailing.
Well, that's all very true, but what do? Write her off as an incurable statistic? Do we only help when we're certain of success?
No, Governor.
I know that we failed with Lily, but I'd still like to do what's best for her.
But we can't even guarantee her safety if she's let out, madam.
I've been checking, and all the women who were involved in her earlier troubles have been discharged. She's got nothing to fear anymore.
Well, it may not be as simple as that. We can't be certain how many of the other women have it in for her. In my opinion, it's not worth the risk.
Well, obviously it's bad for her to be completely segregated, but I don't know what the alternative is. I'm glad she's not on my wing.
Well, I don't suppose she can do much harm in the little time she's got left.
Will you come this way, Sam?
No potatoes, miss.
Oh. Are you on a diet, Frances?
No, madam, just not hungry.
Her friend was discharged a couple of weeks ago. She's lonely.
Lily?
Oh, hello, madam.
Thank you, Chief. Sit down, Lily.
Oh, not before you, madam.
Thank you.
It's ever so good of you to visit me, madam. Then you always was kind. Consider it.
I expect you know why I'm here.
About me application?
Yes.
It's the last one. Another 5 weeks I'll be shot of this lot. Oh, not that you haven't been kind, madam, but it's them slags out there ganging up on me.
They wouldn't do so if you didn't give them cause.
Oh, it's all lies, madam. They're only jealous 'cause I know my way about.
In prison? Is that something to be proud of?
Oh, I'm not proud, madam. I just wanted to do me bird quietly and get out. I mean, that spot of trouble before, it was only a bit of a lark and it got misunderstood.
I think we both know what it was. Now, about your application.
I'm not going back into association. I want to be on my own.
I'm afraid that won't be possible. I can't allow you to be locked up here any longer.
Oh, no, it's me right. I want Rule 43.
Sit down, Lily. No. I said sit down. Now, in a few weeks, when your sentence is over, you'll be going out from here.
Roll on.
You'll have served nearly 18 months, being exposed to traffic and people again, making your own decisions, getting onto buses, going into shops and cafes. All of this is difficult enough when you've just come out of prison.
I've done it before.
I don't think you realize what it would be like to go straight out to that from solitary.
Oh, I know what to expect.
Perhaps, but the shock would be far less if you'd already spent some time with the women on the wing.
No, they're lying for me. Oh, you don't know what they're like, madam. There's 2 or 3 of them out there just waiting to mark me.
Not anymore. Hardly any of the women were here when you first applied to be segregated. And the officers will be watching. First time of trouble and they'll move in.
Protection, like?
Well, they'll keep discipline on the wing and they'll see that you come to no harm.
Well, if you guarantee it, madam.
I'm trying to do what's best for you, Lily. All I can guarantee is that if you behave yourself, you'll be perfectly all right.
Oh, what would I want to make any trouble for? I've got it made so long as I keep my nose clean.
Exactly.
Don't you think Fran would be better? It'd help to cheer up.
I don't see that as an ideal combination.
Sandra!
It's all right, Vivian, don't get up. I want to ask you a favour. There are no single cells left, and I want to move someone in here with you. She's a very quiet girl.
There's only one bed.
Well, we'll put another one in, of course. I wouldn't ask, but you are going out very shortly.
I see. All right, miss.
Good. She is a little upset, so it would be best if you left her alone as much as possible for a few days. Give her time to adjust. I don't think she'll disturb you very much.
Sure.
Sandra. Sandra Logan, Vivian Pierce. I'll leave you 2 together.
Well, sit down then. Had your lunch? Want some? Look, I'll leave you on your own for a bit. You can unpack when they bring your locker.
She's not worth it. She'll be out of here in a few weeks, and you'll lose your remission. I don't think there'll be any trouble, madam.
Thank you, Mrs. Armitage.
New, are you? Yeah. Thought so, I hadn't seen you around.
I was in K Block.
Got a kid then? Take 'em away, did they? Oh, poor love. Bloody rotten they are. You ought to write to your MP.
No, I asked them to put him in care. It wasn't good for him to be here.
Worrying you, was it?
Couldn't sleep. And they can say what they like, but I know he could fill this place. Was that upsetting?
Oh, of course, it stands to reason, doesn't it?
Oh, well enough. Do you want to have a go, love?
Hey, you want to do something about that? Well, so, mate, you don't want to let old Tiger Lily get her claws into her.
Why don't you do something about it then, if it bothers you so much?
Trust myself. I might smash her head in.
Come on then, girls, lock up.
Go in, go there.
Good night.
Oh, you!
Bedtime. And you're not exempt. Go on.
Oh, exempt.
Good night, Sandra.
Oh, I am glad I caught you, Faye.
So am I. It's a bit depressing to come home after a hard day's work and have no one to talk to.
Is Bill still as busy as ever?
Oh, busier. He's been commuting this last month between Paris and Geneva.
I always thought engineers were quiet men who stayed in one place for years, building huge, ugly bridges and things.
Well, he used to, but nowadays he tells everybody else what to build and where.
Well, somehow, I can't imagine Bill as a business tycoon with ulcers.
Well, he hasn't changed all that much. You'll see him if you stay on for a bit. He's flying in from Geneva tonight.
Good.
Now, what would you like to drink? Or would you prefer some coffee?
May I be a bore and have coffee?
Yes, of course.
Alcohol, sadly, isn't on my diet.
I'll put the kettle on.
Faye?
Yes?
May I say something serious for a change? I know it's not in character.
Of course.
Well, it's just that I do hope you don't feel I've been too much of a failure. As a prison visitor, I mean. Oh, I was so glad when you gave me another chance, but, well, I haven't exactly been a raving success.
How do you mean?
Well, I'm not very practical. I'm not a great social reformer. All I can do is to get them to talk a little.
Do you know, Cecily, that could be the most difficult job in prison and one of the most useful. If I thought that you were going to come in and tell the women how to lead better lives, I'd never have accepted you.
Seriously?
Quite seriously. I accepted you because you made them laugh.
Oh, well, thanks.
And because you don't expect too much. Quite honestly, I've given you some of the toughest ones, introverted, inarticulate. But the very fact that they look forward to seeing you and that you've made them talk about themselves in spite of their fear and suspicion is more valuable than, 100 lectures on social morality.
Well, I just rabbit on about clothes or sewing, cooking, anything, until I find something that interests them. Mind you, that can be pretty hair-raising.
Well, the first thing I learned was never to be shocked.
Well, now, what about Vivian Pierce? You can't call her introverted.
I gave her to you as a bonus because I knew you'd speak the same language.
I shall miss her when she goes. You know, in a way, she's the most surprising of them all. I just can't work out how she landed up inside.
Well, it's the old story. I've heard it so often. It sounds like a cheap novelette. She got involved with the wrong man.
Faye?
Yes?
Did you say Bill was catching the afternoon flight from Geneva?
Yes.
He's ever so pretty. A real little boy, you know. I wasn't feeding him myself, but he'd sort of press in against me.
Well, why did you have him sent away then? If you miss him so much.
I had to. I had to, and now he's with strangers.
Don't worry. They'll look after him, all right?
Won't be the same for him. He might know me when they let me out. Oh, I wish I was you getting out next month.
Your husband had not been checked through for the flight.
Is there no way you can tell?
Well, he was on standby, and a number of the standby passengers were forced onto the aircraft.
How many?
At least 5, possibly 7. We're trying to find out whether your husband was amongst them.
Thank you. You've been very kind. You'll telephone me, won't you?
Oh, yes. As soon as we get something definite news. Will you be at this number, Mrs.
Oh, yes, yes, of course I shall. Thank you. The airline haven't got a full list of the passengers who boarded late.
So you're not certain he's on it?
No, but he checked out of the hotel in time to board the plane. He was on a standby for it.
These hijackers, what do they want?
Just money. But they threatened to blow it up and everyone on it.
Morning, Molly. How's the room, is it? Oh, good. I'm doing the rounds as well. Oh, Mrs. Rogers can get the whole... I think it's upstairs.
Why aren't you working?
I'm waiting.
Stand up.
I'm not at work, miss. Because I'm waiting to be seen by the welfare officer.
Right. Wait outside your own cell, so she doesn't miss you. And you? Why aren't you working?
I haven't been given no work, miss.
Why not?
Don't know why.
Hey. Why hasn't that Logan girl been assigned some work?
Oh, she's very upset, Chief.
The doctor's passed her fit.
I know, but Miss Harker said...
She'll
to give her
recover
time
a lot sooner if she doesn't sit around here moping. Now get her onto a working party. And Lily Heaver.
Yes, Chief. All right, Lily. A nice bit of scrubbing for you.
Oh, God.
You were with Faye when she heard, Mrs. Foyle?
Yes, it was a dreadful shock. I stayed with her last night.
Of course, her son's abroad just now, too.
I tried to get her to send for him.
Is she waiting at home for news?
No, she's at a departmental planning meeting.
Well, how can they expect
Oh,
her
she
to go to...
insisted on going, Janet. It's the Reconstruction and Development Committee, and she wanted to put her case. That's why I'm doing the round for her today. Well, everything okay?
No, as a matter of fact.
Actually, it's rather odd. I came here this morning to take Vivian Pierce on her pre-release home visit, and she refused to go with me.
Refused?
Well, very politely, but quite definitely. She said she would not set foot outside this place 1 minute before she had to.
Well, nobody's ever turned down a chance of getting out of here before. Did you speak with her?
Well, of course. She said the same thing. She apologised for being a nuisance, but she flatly refused to go, and she wouldn't say why.
Well, I'll have a word with her myself. See if I can find out what's behind it. She always seems such a sensible girl, too. Oh, I'm sorry if you've been inconvenienced, Mrs. Foyle.
It only meant taking a morning off work. Pity it was wasted.
It needn't be. You might be able to help with something else.
Hello? You're Sandra, aren't you? I'm Cecily Foyle, Vivian Pierce's visitor. I was thinking she'll be released soon, and I've got so used to coming in here. Would you like me to come and see you?
You from the welfare?
Oh, no. Just a sort of friendly face, I suppose. Someone to talk things over with if you feel like it. It can get a bit lonely in here. Of course, you're luckier than most of them.
How do you mean?
Well, having your baby waiting for you outside. Most of them have nothing to look forward to at all. You really are lucky.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
Do tell me about him.
Plane still circling the southern Mediterranean. None of the usual countries were allowed to land because it's not a political hijacking.
The reports say they aren't certain how many people are on board.
No, there was some shooting at the airport. The hijackers used the standby passengers as a screen to get onto the plane. At least, Bill wasn't one of the wounded.
You shouldn't have gone to that meeting, Faye. They'd have understood.
Oh, I couldn't possibly have stayed at home alone. As it was a pointless exercise.
Well, how's that?
All my recommendations, all our plans for extensive rebuilding have been noted to be considered at some other time when the economic climate is more favourable.
So much for progress.
Now, what's this about Vivian Pierce? Refused her outside visit?
Yeah, categorically. She's not irrational about it, just determined.
That's rubbish. Hmm? It doesn't make sense. I mean, it is irrational. Irrational means anything that's directly, unaccountably opposite from normal.
Ah, come off it, Peter. She's a sensible, balanced, well-adjusted girl.
Well, she did end up in here.
Oh, only for being in possession. All that jewellery and stuff they found in her flat, her boyfriend had hidden it. She said at first she didn't even know it was there.
Oh, well, I dare say the police have heard that story once or twice before.
Oh, you've only got to look at her.
Well, I don't think there's any point in going over her case again. As a matter of fact, I tend to agree with Charles. I don't think we would have seen her here unless she'd become involved with that man, Max Stern.
The police were trying to get at him through her. But at the trial, she refused to implicate him. There was no evidence against him when he was released.
But he's just got 10 years for drug trafficking.
So she did it all for nothing.
Yeah.
Can you imagine what it must feel like to know that you've wasted 2 years of your life for nothing?
You don't know what it's like.
I think I do.
No, mate. When you can leave here, get passed through, sign, out the gate and go where you please. To the pictures, have a drink with a fella, you can get on a train and just keep going, never come back if you don't want to.
So can you. In a few weeks you'll be free.
Free?
You'll be signed out at the gate and you can go where you please, just like me.
You don't get it, do you?
Oh.
You think it's all over when they let you out.
Oh, of course I don't. Once you're home...
What, home? I get a few quid from you, a couple of bob from the discharged prisoner's aid, and end up in some stinking doss house.
If you'd let me find you somewhere to stay...
Oh, so you can keep tabs on me, no bloody thanks.
Well, at least let me find you a job so you can support yourself.
Oh, I'll support myself, all right.
Lily, if you don't have somewhere to go and a job, you know what'll happen. You'll end up in here again.
Not this time. I'll be too smart for him this time. I'll keep on the move, see? One jump ahead.
You're just going to go out and start stealing again.
What? Me? Never.
Then let me find you some work.
Oh, I'm not well enough to work. I've been brutalised. I mean, you say I've paid me debt to society, yeah. Well, what about society's debt to me? I'm going to collect it.
How?
All them local authorities, charities. I'll let them know the inhuman way I've been treated in here. It's up to them to support me.
Lily, this is pure fantasy.
You reckon? I've got the nick written all over me. Well, I'm going to use it. I mean, them people out there, they'll believe anything. The worse, the better. And nobody in here can deny it. They're not allowed to. Yeah. I can't wait to get out.
I just don't want to leave, madam.
You're still young, Vivian. One mistake, one error of judgment, if you like, shouldn't be allowed to ruin the whole of your life. Do you really care so much for this man?
It has nothing to do with Max. That's all over.
Well, then I would have thought you'd have been eager to get out, to start a new life.
There's nothing for me outside.
That store that you worked for, you managed the cosmetic department, didn't you? Well, I've spoken to them. They'd be happy to have you back.
That's very kind of you, madam. But I'm not going back there. I'm not going anywhere that anyone knows me.
You afraid of something? You think people will condemn you? Well, that's natural enough, but if you give them a chance, if you're open with them, people are far more understanding than you think.
I know, the Nick's all right if you know your way about. But you got to learn the wrinkles, see? You need someone like me to fill you in.
Oh, she's poison. She's got a knack of finding out things and then using them against you. Did it to a mate of mine, you know. Blackmailed her, then grassed on her.
Well, what could she do to Sandra? She doesn't have anything worth taking.
Oh, it's enough for her to get her hooks into you. Then she finds out how to use you, sits back and watches you squirm.
Yeah, right. I'd better break them up then.
No, hang on, I'll do it.
Why should you?
She's more frightened of me. Anyway, I've got an old score to settle for old time's sake. Yeah, boobs are full of that. Got yourself a new playmate, then?
None of your business.
No, well, I'm making it my business. Leave the kid alone.
Oh, what's it to do with you? Maybe she don't want to be left alone, do you, love?
I said leave the kid alone. And get over your own side. We don't want you in here.
Oh, now, look, I'll go where I please. You don't tell me what to do.
Oh, don't
No,
I
you
then?
do.
That's what you think. That means you get over there. Don't go down. Oh, right, Oliver, get out.
Stay where you are! Now, what's all this about? Who started this?
It was them two. They attacked me like animals. That's what they are. Animals.
Why did you attack Lily?
Just happened, madam. No reason.
You don't attack someone for no reason. It's a good thing that Miss Berryman was there to stop it. It's the kind of behaviour that I simply will not tolerate. Any quarrel that you have with Lily cannot be solved by violence. I would have thought that you'd learnt that by now. Well, you haven't been in trouble for a long time, Francis. I've taken that into consideration. 7 days loss of pay.
Thank you, madam.
Any further disturbance of this kind will be dealt with far more severely. I'm very disappointed in you, Vivian. It's not the kind of conduct I expected.
But it was only me, madam. Well, Vivian was trying to stop us.
Is this true?
Yes, madam.
Did you actually see her in the fight, Miss Berryman?
No, madam.
And you were not involved in any other way?
No, madam.
Well, I'm relieved to hear it. Very well, you may go.
Thank you, madam.
Well, you're right about the effect that Lily Heaver has on the other women. What do you think caused it?
Who knows? If Lily herself won't say. What I don't understand is Vivian Pierce.
No, she disturbs me too. She would have accepted punishment without speaking up for herself. Why?
I told you, didn't I? I got friends in high places. Yeah. The governor and me have got an arrangement.
Oh, I wish I'd really carved her up. I'd like to have done her good and proper, except I would have lost all my remission. Oh, what you've done, you silly cow! I'm sorry, miss, you wouldn't mind.
All right, the rest of you calm down. Clumsy cow.
Just you. Right, clean it up.
So, you've got a bit put by, have you? Nearly £50. I saved it for the baby.
Of course, yeah. Here, I hope you didn't give it to her all at once.
To who?
That foster mother he's with.
Why should I give it to her?
Oh, well, everybody knows them foster homes are only in it for the money. They don't care what the kids eat or wear. I mean, you don't give them a bit extra to keep them off starve.
I didn't know. Nobody told me.
Oh, shame.
Well, they wouldn't let him go hungry, would they?
No skin off their nose.
What can I do? How can I get it to them?
Here, tell you what. I'm going out soon. I mean, if you trust me, I could collect it and make sure they got, what, a couple of quid a week, say. I mean, I could make sure he was properly looked after.
Oh, would you, Lily? Would you really?
For a pal, of course.
Oh,
no problem.
Say no more.
Say no more.
not trying to pry, Vivian. I just want to try and understand. I mean, if you're afraid of the world outside here, well, then the best way to face it is for a short trip first with somebody that you trust. It's the whole purpose of these visits outside.
I know.
Well, is it me? Would you rather go with someone else?
No.
Oh, well, that's a relief anyway. Well, now look. We'll decide what you want to do, make a plan, and we'll only go where you want to go.
I've told you. I'm not going anywhere. Not till I have to.
But
now, for God's sake, leave me alone!
Oh, hello, Sandra.
Hello, Mrs. Foyle.
How are you? All right. We must have a proper chat soon. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, yeah, you'll get a real kick out of it.
What do you mean?
Oh, come off it. You wouldn't give us the time of day if you met us away from here. It's like visiting the monkeys in a zoo, isn't it?
On the contrary.
Oh, Lord, Pastor Master Charles, we must have a proper chat. You've got nothing to say to us, missus, and you only listen because you're paid to.
In the first place, I am not paid to come here. And in the second place, I don't think you're on my list. I was talking to Sandra.
Well, she don't want to talk to you, do you, love? See, so you can shove off.
She really is one of the most offensive people I've ever met.
She can be very difficult.
Difficult? I very nearly punched her on the nose.
Yes, she does have that effect on people.
Oh, I came very close to losing my temper. And I'm sorry, but it was straight after another complete failure with Vivian.
Well, you're not alone in that. We've all failed there, Cecily.
Yes, but what's got into her? I mean, she was so pleasant to talk to until recently. She was looking forward to being released. I mean, what can have got into her?
Well, it's hard to say. Some of the older prisoners do have a fear of returning to the outside world, of not being able to cope with it, but it's rare among the younger ones. Especially in someone as apparently balanced as Vivian.
And it is so recent. I can't help feeling it's something to do with Mac's turn.
The man she was protecting at her trial.
Well, he was sent down for 10 years last month for dealing in heroin.
Do you think she feels she can't face life outside without him?
She denies it, but perhaps her feelings are stronger for him than she'll admit.
Oh, how can they be? A drug peddler. She must have realised what kind of man he is by now.
Perhaps she's always known it's we who've been sentimentalising her part in the affair.
I'm also a little concerned about Sandra Logan. I couldn't get much out of her, but she seems to be morbidly afraid that her baby will be ill-treated in its foster home.
Oh, well, that's ridiculous. These people are very carefully chosen and completely reliable.
Oh, well, I know that. It's another thing to convince her.
Perhaps if she sees him. Miss Clark, would you look into the possibility of the baby being brought here on a visit?
A visit?
Well, just for an hour or so, if she sees that he's all right and meets the foster mother. It might put her mind at rest.
Yes, that could be the solution.
Try and organise it as quickly as possible, will you?
Yes, of course. I'll get on with it now, if you'll excuse me.
Oh, and if you have any difficulties, tell them that I approve.
Thank you, Mrs. Wilson.
Oh, Faye, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have bothered you. Any news?
Oh, just that the ransom hasn't been paid. The plane is sitting on the edge of a desert somewhere, surrounded by troops. The whole thing might go up any minute.
And Bill definitely is on it.
It was he who organised the wounded passengers to be taken off.
You look all in, Faye.
How do I know you'll give it to her?
Well, I'm your mate, ain't I?
Yeah, but it's a lot of money.
A lousy 50 quid. That's chicken feed compared to what I've got waiting for me. I mean, I was going to add a bit to it on my own, like, without telling you, but if you don't even trust me...
Oh, it's not that,
forget
Lily.
it. It's your kid. If you don't care what happens to him...
No, wait, Lily, I'm sorry.
I don't know why, Miss Harker, but there's a funny atmosphere.
Well, what do you mean?
I'm not quite sure, but there's a tension. I can feel it building up.
Well, I'm not aware of it.
May I have a word with Miss Berryman?
Yes, of course.
Why ever did you put Sandra Logan and that Heaver woman on the same working party?
You yourself told me to get them working, Chief.
But not together. Anyone with any nous could have seen what would be the result. It was bad enough that friendship was allowed to start in the first place.
Are you criticising the way I run this wing?
No, Miss Harker, but you have to be properly advised by your staff, and I would suggest that you separate those two. There's something brewing up here, and I don't like the smell of it.
Well, that's what Pat was saying.
Oh, maybe some hope for you yet. Could have the makings of a real prison officer.
Darling.
Oh, Bill.
Here, there won't be no difficulty in getting that money, will there?
No. It's in the savings club at the shop I work for. I'll give you a letter.
Great, couldn't be easier. No problem.
Going somewhere? I've waited nearly a year to get even with you. I'm going to halve you up, Lil. I've got protection. Teach you a lesson you'll never forget. Shut up,
Lily, miss.
They'd only allow one doctor on the plane. I had to help him carry the wounded off. Then the soldiers wouldn't let me go back. I was flown out with the wounded, put on the first flight back to London. I dodged the reporters at the airport. There'd enough people to talk to. I was going to call you, but I thought it was better to come straight home. I'm sorry if it was a shock. That's your office phone. Now look, Faye, I don't care what it is. You're not going to work tonight.
What disturbs me is that the body was moved before we were called in.
Well, she didn't seem to be too badly injured at first.
Yes, I'll confirm that. At first it looked like a superficial stab wound, but the point of the knife had perforated the spleen. I see. And about that knife. Several people have handled it. It's going to be difficult to get conclusive fingerprints.
Once again, Inspector, none of us realized it was a case of murder until it was too late. But now, of course, you have our full cooperation. Just tell us what you want.
Thank you, Mrs. Boswell. All I want is for everything to be left to the police. I don't want the women confused about who's in charge.
Very well.
Now, ladies, you were all here when the stabbing took place. I want you to stand exactly or as close as you can remember to where you were at that time.
All right, you heard. Move!
You didn't say anything, Miss Harker?
No, I was up this end trying to stop the shouting.
So was I.
Looks as though the ones up here were only creating a diversion. Right. Now I'm going to ask each of you individually just what you saw. And then my sergeant will take statements from you in the Assistant Governor's office. Now, what do you...
I'll get lost.
That attitude won't help you.
I don't need no help, mate.
I think you do. We know that knife was yours.
Who says so?
And we know you organised a disturbance so you could get at Lily Heaver.
I ain't saying nothing.
Very well. You were on report 2 days ago for attacking her. She said she was terrified of you, that you had it in for her.
Yeah, well, I wasn't the only one, mate. She was a lousy, snivelling grass.
And you wanted her out of the way.
Look, if you want me to say I'm sorry she's dead, you can forget it, because she had it coming to her. But I did not kill her.
You, set the whole thing up.
Only to frighten her.
So you admit it. Now, if your fingerprints are found on that knife...
Here, hold on. I didn't admit nothing. Oh, all right. So I made the shiv okay, but only to frighten her. I just wanted to scare her off our Sandra.
But in the heat of the struggle, you lost your head and, stabbed her.
No, it wasn't like that. Oh, madam, you know me. I mean, I know I'm a bit of a nutter, but I don't go round killing people.
Well, I knew it was a risk. I mean, I could have lost all my remission. Spent another year in this dump. But I only did it to scare her off Sandra and get me own back at the same time. But just to scare her. Well, not kill her.
Sit down, Sandra. I've just come for a talk. How are you?
Right, thank you, madam.
Must have been very distressing for you.
Yes, madam. It was all my fault.
How do you mean?
If I hadn't have thought those daft things about the baby, I'd never have been moved over here. It never have happened.
Oh, I think it could well have happened. You were just an excuse. The important thing now is for you to realise that your fear of the foster home that he's been sent to is groundless.
I know that, madam. Vivian explained it to me. And other things. I shouldn't never have asked for him to be taken away.
Well, you could still have him with you for the rest of your sentence. It's not too late.
Could I, madam? I mean, could I?
Well, we'll talk about it. In the meantime, will you leave us alone for a few minutes? I believe Miss Harker wants to have a few words with you.
Oh, thank you, madam.
I think the inspector is going to accuse Frances of Lily Heaver's murder. She denies it. He doesn't believe her. She claims that the knife was snatched from her hand during the struggle.
It was me.
Yes, I rather thought it might be. It was you who stabbed Lily. Why? To protect Sandra?
Only partly. Lily was nothing to me. I didn't mean to kill her! I only meant to wound her. I was going to own up at once, and then I heard she was dead.
Why did you stab her?
So I'd lose my remission. Maybe I'd even get an extra sentence. It's my only chance.
Chance for what?
I'm staying alive! When I was arrested, I really didn't know that Max had been using my place to store things. Well, it upset me, but I didn't mind so much about the other things. Only the drugs.
That was his real business, wasn't it?
When I found out, it horrified me. That's what we'd been living on. He said he'd have my legs broken if I gave him away. Well, now he's been sent to prison himself.
Yes.
There was a message smuggled in from the people he worked with. They said they'd be waiting for me.
But you've got nothing to do with his conviction.
How can I prove that? They wouldn't listen. They're watching the gates. Within a day, they said. Within a day of getting out of here, I'll be dead.
We'll have them picked up.
I don't know who they are. It could be anyone.
Now listen to me, Vivian. Just listen to me. I want you to tell the police exactly what you told me. They'll be able to trace through to those people from that message you got. You could be out here sooner than you think. Oh, I'm not excusing what you've done. But I'll speak for you.
And I'll deny anything that you say. I'll never forget Lily's body lying there. I didn't mean to kill her. It can't be helped now. And I'll swear in any court that it was deliberate and that I tried to get away with it. That I hoped they'd charge Fran. I want the longest sentence I can get. Prison's the only place in the world I'll be safe.